start. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Internet Helpline call. I'm Steve Wright from Success Website, and we have Christy Philly on as well. Say hi, Christy.
Hello, everybody.
And welcome to today's call. I don't know whether Craig is going to be joining us today, but maybe, maybe not. And so what we're going to do today is a couple things. We've had a lot of people wanting to do just a Q&A session, so we're going to do at least half or two-thirds of the call. We'll take as many questions as we can. Christy and I will both be here to answer anything you want to know about internet marketing or your Success website, or see what we can do to help you out any way we can. And the other thing we want to do today is we have made some updates to the HDX. So HDX is our custom MLS system. So anybody that wants to have a custom MLS, and we'll talk about some of the reasons why you might want to do that, but also show some of the new updates. So why don't we start there, Christy?
I'm here too.
Oh, hey, Craig.
Hey, guys.
Was there anything else, before we go any further, is there anything else you want us to talk about?
I just tuned in, so I didn't hear what you said.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do at least half, two-thirds of the call, take as many questions as we can. We've got Christy and myself here for the entire call, so any questions about your website or internet marketing. And we also we had a bunch of questions about why people might want to have a custom MLS and some of the things you can do with that. And we have some new features that have been integrated into that, and we wanted just to do a quick run through some of those and go from there.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so why don't we start there, Christy? What are people using, and why would you want to have a custom MLS?
Well, I think that it's really valuable to be able to manipulate the data a little bit. I mean, people can access the MLS, they can access IDX, Realtor.com, Zillow, Redpin. There's all sorts of sites out there, all sorts of listing portals that people can access. But what I've always found to be one of the most useful and effective ways to generate leads is to use the list data to sort of manipulate it to really target a very specific type of buyer or seller. So the site that we've got up here, this is our latest version of the HDX, and what we sort of base this whole platform on is the ability to create your own property hot lists. So whether it's a hot list for condos or first-time buyer homes, or you could even do new homes with finished basements. The idea is to really sort of plug into what your ideal buyer is looking for and provide them with a list that matches their criteria. So we've got our latest version here, and many of you on the call probably have the HDX system, and if you're interested in upgrading to the latest version of this platform, we can do that for you. There's no additional charge for that, and we'll sort of give you some instructions on how to get in touch with us to do that later.
Okay, so let me just sort of step back for a second here. So the key thing we're trying to get at here is we're trying to attract buyers, and obviously a lot of the buyers that will be looking are sellers. And the number one thing that buyers are looking for is property information. Now, if we tie that back to
let me interrupt there for 1 second. Everyone understands that, right? That Steve just said something very important. The number one thing that buyers want are houses. Over everything else, that trumps everything else. That's what buyers want. Okay, buyers want houses, and sellers want buyers. So you're going to offer lists of houses. You're going to get buyers because buyers want the houses. You're using the houses as bait, as a hook, to get the buyers. Once you have the buyers in your database, you're going to use the list of the buyers as the bait or the hook to get the sellers. So I want everyone to write this down so everyone gets this. I mean, sometimes there's confusion, Steve and Christy, on what it is that buyers and sellers really want. Buyers want houses. They don't really want an agent. You know, like we're brought into this industry believing, we're told that they want us. They don't want us. They want houses.
Right.
That's right.
Okay, so the trick is, and this is something we've seen over and over with Craig's system and all the people using Craig's system, is that we can attract the most number of buyers by advertising hot lists of properties. Okay, so what this system allows you to do is use all the MLS data, all the homes that are available in your marketplace, create customized hot lists. So if you look down on the right side there, you've got the property hot lists these are pre-configured hot lists. Maybe you can go back to the home page, Christy.
Mm-hmm.
Just on the right side, you can see there's a whole bunch of pre-configured hot lists. And if we click on any of those, so there's Ballard single-family homes, Ballard first-time buyer homes, Ballard condos, Bellevue. So you can identify the areas you want to specialize in, set up pre-configured lists of homes, and then what we can do is we can advertise these hot lists and then automatically fulfill the list. So if somebody wanted to request the Bellevue foreclosure list, which we know foreclosures is going to attract absolutely the most number of buyers, we can run an unbranded ad. We can actually run an ad right to that page if we wanted to. But the idea is to drive traffic to the site, promote one of these hot lists. So let's say the Bellevue foreclosures list. Maybe you can click on that one, Christy. And then what we'll do, they'll be able to see the list of properties, so you don't have to worry about putting together the list for them when they request it. They'll automatically get sent the list, and not only will they get sent the list, they'll automatically get sent updates as new properties become available that match that criteria. So if they request the Bellevue list, they'll automatically get sent updates when there's new properties that meet that criteria. Okay, so what happens is, there's two ways to get into this. The first is you could send them directly to the hot list. When they go to look at any of the details of the homes, they'll get asked to, if they want to see the details, they have to register. So they'll get instant access to the details. But the other way we can put them into this is they could go to the unbranded page. We can set up an unbranded landing page specifically for Bellevue foreclosures hot list. When they request that, then again, they'll automatically get sent this list of homes, and then they'll be able to see all the details. They'll automatically get sent the updates as well. In the back end, you can see exactly what homes they're looking at. Okay, so here's an example of one of those property hot list pages that's configured for mobile. Okay, so this page would work really well on your phone. So Port Perry waterfront homes hot lists, these must be sold, instant access to new listings in real time. Okay, so they give you their name, their email address, their mobile number, and then they would get sent that particular hot list. So you can have multiple of these pages. You could advertise them through Facebook or Google or wherever you want to promote. But that's the idea. We're driving people to our own private version of the MLS, which lets us do all the things that we can't do with a public MLS. So here we're going to capture all the names. Here we're going to be able to automatically see what they're looking at. Here we're going to be able to automatically send them updates as new properties become available. We're going to be able to tell when they've gone back to look at properties again. Okay, so all those things are really big advantages of having your own version of the MLS.
Okay, Steve,
Okay.
I've got a couple questions.
Sure.
What do you and Christy find works better, driving right to the HDX site or driving to the landing page offering the list of properties, capturing the information there, and then sending them the information from the HDX?
What do you think about that, Christy? I've got my opinion, but I'll ask you first.
Well, when we first started testing it, we did find that the squeeze page responded better, or people responded better to the squeeze page. We got a lot more leads, a lot more people registering for the hot list, and that is the method that we have been using. Now, this new version of the HDX, because we've made changes to our opt-in forms, because we've sort of made changes to the overall layout and the responsiveness of the site, you know, we're going to go back to now doing another split test to see if we can get more response from just direct access to the HDX as opposed to the squeeze page. But you know, I'd say over the last year or so, the squeeze page has performed better than just giving them access to the HDX hot list.
Okay, so do they, does the agent have to manually enter them into the HDX to fulfill the list for the request, or does it happen automatically?
It happens automatically. Yeah, the agent does not have to manually do anything, actually. The prospect gets access right away. They get emails. They get prompted to come back to the site and view listings. So the agent doesn't have to send out anything. It's all taken care of.
No, but I mean, if they go, okay, so if they go directly to the landing page, if we find that sending them to the landing page for the list of properties works better than the HDX, once they go to the landing page, the prospect enters the information, they're automatically, that list will be fulfilled from HDX. There's nothing the agent has to do, correct?
That's correct.
Now,
that's
how
correct.
long will they continue to get daily updates from HDX until the agent shuts them off?
The way the system works is
or is it like a one-time list?
It's not a one-time list. They will get updates, but the system sort of responds to how active the prospect is. So if they're coming back and they're viewing certain listings in a certain area, say, our system will pick up on what their search patterns are and respond accordingly. So if somebody comes back and they're not necessarily looking at just foreclosure homes, they're looking at, let's say, you know, all properties in Bellevue between a certain price range, the system will reply with properties that match their search criteria. So,
okay, so
we try to respond in that way.
If I go to a Belleville foreclosure landing page, the first list I get would have all the foreclosures in Belleville that are currently on the market, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
And then every day I'm going to get updates of new foreclosure properties that come on the market or reductions in price on the existing ones, correct?
Yes, if there are updates to that list, then you will be notified of that.
Okay,
but
so
sometimes there's just not enough activity there, right? Like
right.
you're not getting enough activity on that list. So we'll try to encourage the user to come back and view other properties that aren't necessarily just within, you know, the foreclosure distress sale category.
You're saying the HDX actually learns from their activity. It will
yes.
customize, it will alter what it sends them based on what they're searching.
Yes, yeah, it has its own unique algorithm to respond to what the search patterns and behaviors are of the user.
So I think, Craig, one of the things that going back to the question, which works better, the squeeze page from the unbranded site or going directly to the site? If you have a specific, like it all comes down to testing, as Christy said. You're going to test, and our testing to date has shown that if you've got a specific area, so you're doing Bellevue foreclosures, and that's the area you want to really focus in on, you're going to get leads in Bellevue, and that's great. But in a lot of cases, what will happen if you send people directly to the home page of your listing site, they'll self-service the areas they want to look at. They'll self-service their price range. And in a lot of ways, that may get you someone that's more interested. The Bellevue foreclosures may get them there, but once they've actually registered for that, then they can actually go in and they can refine their price range. They can create additional searches. There's all sorts of things. So they can have multiple areas, multiple searches, multiple price ranges, and they'll get updates on all of those. So
okay, so do you have an example that you could show us of, let's say, the first email that the buyer would get after they've requested a list of, say, Bellevue foreclosures?
Sure. Yeah. Look, just give me a second here. I'll log in and show you.
And the other thing I want to discuss, while Christy's doing that, is when I'm following up with the prospect now, if they're getting dripped on a daily basis with all the new foreclosures or new fixer-uppers or whatever they opted in for, you know, what is going to be the hook to get together with the prospect, because when we go to a static landing page, what we're basically saying is we're going to send you a one-time list of the fixer-uppers or the bank foreclosures. And if you want to get, you know, a continual list, if you want to get constant updates of all the homes that match your criteria, well, that's why we need to get together, because we want to discuss exactly what you're looking for. So that's how we're able to differentiate between what they've received, which is a one-time snapshot of the current fixer-uppers or foreclosures, versus when you get together with us, well, we're going to send you now all the daily updates. You're going to get a list like this every day of all the new listings that come on the market, and that's why we want to meet with you, because you know, we certainly don't want to miss out on something that could come up that would have been perfect for you. And on the other hand, we don't want to send you gazillions of homes that don't match the criteria. Well, that argument goes out the window once you're on the HDX, because in fact they're not getting gazillions of homes every day. They're only getting a couple of homes. So I'm just being devil's advocate. If I'm the buyer prospect, why do I want to meet with you? Why don't I just say, well, I'm good with what I'm getting. Just keep doing that. You've been sending me these emails every day, and I like what I'm getting, so I don't really see the need to meet with you.
Well, I think you've answered the question yourself in a couple of things that you said. We can send them the way it's set up. If they come in and order Bellevue foreclosures, they're getting a very generic list. Okay, they're getting maybe a price range, but they're getting, you've picked the price range, you've picked the list. They could probably work through the details and sort it and figure it out themselves, but most of them don't. And the idea, it's the same story. You're going to be able to get them a better list, a more focused list. You're going to be able to give them access to properties that the best properties don't necessarily get onto the MLS right away. If we have a better idea of your criteria, we can find listings, and so you can get the jump on people. And it's all the same types of things. But remember, most of these guys, you have to have the story either way, because most of these guys are if they're not accessing the listings through you, they're accessing it through Realtor.com or Redfin or one of these other sites, because they've all got access to the listings. So you've got to have that story right in your own head, and I think that a lot of the sort of things you were saying, to be a devil's advocate here, I think are the things you want to incorporate into that language.
Well, I think the language you need to lean on, if they're getting daily updates from HDX, first of all, I would still be calling the buyer prospect or the seller prospect. I'd be calling them right away. Okay, and I would be saying, Steve, I received your request. We're sending you out a list, and I would be using that script exactly the way it is, because you don't know, as a prospect, you don't know on day one that you are going to get these every single day.
Right. No, absolutely.
And if you won't meet with me, I can shut you off.
Yep.
Right?
The other thing that works really well is sending really short, like once they're getting a few of these updates, one of the things you can do that works really well is you can send them like one-line messages, either by text or by email, that says, did you see the property on such and such? Or did you see this specific property? This might be perfect for you. And what that'll often do is generate a response, generate a callback, and then you can get into the thing, okay, was that good for you or was it not good for you? And then we can refine it. If we meet with you, we can better refine, we'll have a better idea of what you're looking for, so I can keep an eye out, because there are a lot. And a lot of the new ones never really get to the MLS, but they're almost sold before they get there.
Okay, well, let me say this. What we're leveraging on with buyers, and everyone hear me on this, is their fear that they're going to miss out on something. It's a real fear that buyers have. And that's why buyers are looking all over the place for information. You know, I have our members say, well, Craig, they're looking in all these other places. Yes, they probably are. And the reason buyers are looking all on these places offline, they're everywhere, right? They're looking in the newspapers. They're on all these online sites. The reason buyers are driving through neighborhoods and looking online and offline is because of this massive fear that they have that they're going to miss out on something. And we want to play upon that. So something else that you can use to really leverage that appointment is, is this off of this fear that they have that they're not getting all the access. So that's why we encourage you in your script to say, like, we have information on all the properties that match your criteria. Some of those properties might not even be listed, and I know some of you are, you're kind of feeling bad about that. Well, how could I, actually do that? Well, all of you work in an office, right? Where, when you come into the office in the morning, there are new listings. Okay, homes that were listed last night that aren't even broker loaded on MLS. So we can talk about inner office listings that aren't on the market. We can talk about homes that have recently expired or even expired a year ago off the market. We could talk about for sale by owners. So we've got to leverage off of the buyer's fear of missing out on something. And I'm going to recommend that you call these buyer prospects right away and not wait a week or two, because it weakens your argument. If they respond to HDX and they've been getting your emails every day for 2 weeks and they're pretty happy with that, and then, Steve, I call you and I say, hey, look, Steve, the reason we need to get together is, I don't want to email you dozens of homes that match your criteria and confuse you. I don't want you to miss out on anything. And you might say, well, I'm pretty happy with the way things are working. You're not, in fact, sending me dozens of homes. You're sending me, it appears, just the new ones that come on the market. So I don't think I need to meet with you.
Well, here's another example. We know that one of the most commonly used campaigns is a foreclosure hot list. So if we do a Bellevue foreclosure hot list, we do a squeeze page through your unbranded site, we drive traffic to that. Well, we can follow up and say, like, not everybody, they don't care that it's a foreclosure. They're just looking for a good deal. Well, the good deals and the other things that don't quite match the foreclosure criteria won't be in the list they're getting. So there are other good deals, so we have to get a better sense of what your criteria is so we can make sure you're getting all of the right listings so you don't miss out on any. And it's a pretty easy argument.
Okay, we've got a couple questions here. Can I pose these questions
Sure.
to...
Did you want to do this email first, or...?
Okay, yeah, let's do that first, then we'll go to the questions.
Right. So this is a typical email that would go out when somebody's come in through the HDX to notify them that new updates have been made to the hot list that they originally came in from. So it's it's a pretty standard email, and typically what would be sent out is just a daily reminder that there are new listings available. But there are other emails that will go out depending on what they have done within the HDX. So let me just unpause here. So we have a whole sequence.
So can we just go back to that particular message? Let's just break that one down really quickly.
Yeah, sure. So that was the new listings for you.
Okay, so if you look at the subject there, it's new listings for you. It'll say, hi Craig. Click here to see properties. New properties have been added to www.yourprivateMLS that are similar to the hot list or criteria you've added. Click the link to see what's new. If you'd like more information, call. Okay, so it's a very simple message that says you've got new listings, and that's the basic message that says, okay, whenever there's new properties, that's what they'll get. Okay, so go back to the other messages.
Mm-hmm. So these are the other two. Your saved search has new listings, so that's if there's a saved search in place, and new info on your watched properties.
Okay, so they can say that, okay, if they see properties they like in the HDX, they can basically put a star on it or say this is a property I want to watch. And then anytime the price changes on that, or that house sells, or they've added new pictures, whatever that is, then you'll get information on that.
That's right.
Okay, so they're very simple messages, but what we find is the one really good thing about it, if it is a hot list they're interested in, this is a message they will open. And that's a lot more than we can say for most email.
What I've often done with these messages too is I'll customize them for for the agent. And instead of just having the subject line, you know, new listings for you, I'll say new listings for you from, you know, Fred Smith, and then have a phone number, right? So when people get those messages in their inbox, they know that, you know, you're the agent who's been sending this.
Right.
And it's got your phone number there as well.
Okay, so let's say that I sign up to receive a list of Bellevue foreclosures. When I get the first email, it tells me how I can go in and customize my list in case I'm not just only interested in foreclosures, correct?
Yes, it does. It does have some tips here on how to use the property search settings, how to improve results. It's actually in a PS here at the end of the, after the agent signature.
And what percentage of buyers that request a list of fixer-uppers or foreclosures, once they get this first email, go into their property search settings and change their criteria?
Not many change their criteria, but we do see that they're definitely looking at properties that aren't just foreclosures and distress sales. So in the listing activity, you'll not only see foreclosures, and I think that this is always the case. You know, that is always the hook to get them in, but very rarely are they only interested in just seeing those types of properties.
Okay, let's take
so
a few
they can
questions here. And by the way, if you have a question about anything internet related, any online lead generation that you're using that's working well or not working well, this is your opportunity to get directly to the source and ask Christy and Steve any questions that you have. Okay, so let's take the questions. The first one is from Dave. Dave is asking, do you have to have a custom domain name for each hot list landing page?
You don't need to have a custom domain name for each hot list landing page. You could, right? So in the case of the, if I go back to this one for Port Perry waterfront homes, for instance. So in this case, you may want to have a domain name specifically for this, and you can put that domain name in an ad, whether it's online or in print, and it would go directly to this hot list, or it could go to a squeeze page for this hot list. So yes, you can do that, but if you are advertising it online through Google, through Facebook, you don't necessarily need a specific domain name for that, but you certainly can.
Okay, I think the same rules apply to domain names for this as would any other landing page or squeeze page. I use they're interchangeable.
Well, the number one reason to have a unique domain name is for tracking.
Absolutely. So if you are running offline ads, so you're running a newspaper classified ad or something on Craigslist where you can't put a hot link in, you can put a domain name in that would say portperrywaterfront.com. And
right, like if I don't have a unique domain name for that campaign, then I'm using, if it's not a benefit-rich domain name, then the opposite of that is it's a generic domain name.
Right.
Right.
So the idea would be that you can direct offline people. They can type it into their phone or they can type it into their browser, and it'll automatically go through the tracking, so we'll know where the lead came from, and it'll come up there. Now, if you're only advertising that, let's say you're doing pay-per-click advertising through Google, okay? On Google, you don't need to have, we can set up tracking for each of the keyword sets or for each of the ads you run in Google that go directly to each of these different pages. So in that case, you wouldn't, because we can put the tracking code into your Google ad, you don't need to have a unique domain name for those online ads because they're just clicking on the ad and going right to the right page. So we know we've got the tracking set up. That's done automatically. So offline ads, yes, you have to if you want tracking. Online ads, no, you don't. Although one of the things that's kind of cool is, let's say you had, if you just go back to the home page here, Christy.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that you can do that's kind of neat, now just scroll up so we can see the hot lists. If you were to set up a domain name for Ajax condos and Oshawa condos and Pickering condos and Whitby condos, you'd have those 4 domain names. And one of the things that you can, when you do your listing presentation, as an example, you could go in and you could say, look, no matter where people are looking, I've got if you go and do a listing presentation to someone who's selling a condo in Pickering, you can show them, look, here's my pickeringcondos.com domain name. So that positions you as the expert to sell condos in Pickering. Well, they don't have to know that you have Ajax condos and Oshawa condos and Pickering luxury properties and all the other things. But whichever one of those people, whichever one fits to the listing presentation you go into, it gives you a reason to get a benefit. The other thing that's kind of cool for your listing presentation, I know I'm a little off topic here, is having your own custom MLS lets you automatically build a list of buyers in waiting. So everybody that registers in each of these different areas, you're going to know exactly where they're searching. So when you go on your listing presentation, you can say, okay, I have 45 buyers that are looking for condos in Pickering just like yours. I may have someone that already wants, when you list with me, I may already have a buyer for your condo. And that type of thing, again, is another benefit of having your own MLS. It lets you automatically build the list.
Okay, a few more questions. Sarah's asking this. Are there any worries about having the addresses listed? Couldn't the buyer just go directly to the property and contact the listing agent? Yes, they could, and that's why Sarah and everybody else, we want to get in contact with these prospects, these buyer prospects, all prospects really, as soon as possible, and compel them to meet with us to sign a buyer agency agreement. So Sarah, if you requested this information from me, you wanted a list of homes in Ajax, and I call you back and I use the universal callback script, and you're unwilling to come and meet with me, I'm going to disconnect you. You're not going to continue getting these properties from me. I can control that. Okay, Ernest is asking this. Good morning, Craig, Christy, and Steve. Can I tweak my prospects search criteria? This is something they can do, but they often ask me to tweak it for them.
Yes, yeah, you can create a custom search for the prospect. Now, the prospect can go into their members area and adjust their settings, but I understand what Ernest is saying. I know that a lot, and that's what you want, right? You want the prospect to be asking you to send them specific listings or to adjust their search settings. So you can do that in the command center. I'm just going to switch over here. There is an option in My Leads. So say you've got a very specific lead here and they want an adjustment to their custom search. In the follow-up section, where all of the follow-up email plans are listed, you do have the ability to add a search. Okay, there is an add a search feature here. And you can create a search for that prospect. And you can give the search a name. You can even call it, Millie and George's custom search or your custom search, and adjust the criteria. And then once you save that, the emails that go out to that prospect are now going to have links to the customized list of properties. So that is in My Leads, in the follow-up tab. And then on the right, there's that add search function. So I would try that out, Ernest. Just test it out, create some custom searches, and if you're speaking with a prospect, just make sure that it's exactly what they're looking for.
Okay, next question. This is from Alexandra. I found the advanced search. I found the advanced search. Is there a way to remove lot size from the advanced search, as it doesn't match up with our San Diego MLS and it's confusing?
I believe there are ways to adjust the advanced search option in the parameters of the site. So that would be more of a question for support, and she can probably do that. I don't know if we can change the name of it or the metrics or that type of thing, but I think we can remove it from the advanced search so it just doesn't show.
Yeah, so you just remove that. All right,
Yeah.
I think we've answered this question, but it's from John. He's saying, can a buyer do a saved search?
Yes. So in the HDX, when they are creating their own search, they can save it, right?
Why
So if
don't
I
you share
wanted
that
to
right
save
from the
this.
homepage on the Seattle site, Christy? Because that's one of the
Okay,
new
well,
new features there.
well, this is new too. So I'm on this Search All Durham Homes for Sale. So I'm on the luxury property hot list. And if I want to save this search, the option is right here on the right-hand side. You click on it. So save search.
Okay, do you have
And
are
it's,
you paused? I'm not seeing anything here.
I'm sorry, yes I am. Sorry about that. Okay, so here we go. So in this site, let's say I'm going to create a search here. So if I go back to home and I want to find homes in Oshawa. Let's just go to one of these hot lists here. Okay, so these are homes between, looks like 300,000 to, no, sorry, 50,000 to 300,000. So 300,000 is the maximum price range. If I wanted
that's
to,
just a pre-configured. The agent said, okay, between 50, that's what our first-time buyer range would be.
right.
And that's sort of it's up to you in your marketplace. You can configure that for whatever you want these searches to be.
Right. So if I wanted to refine this, and let's say I want to increase the minimum to 275. So I'm really only interested in seeing properties that are between 275 and 300. I want a list of homes that have 3+ bedrooms, 2+ bathrooms. I can even put in property types here if I want, or specific zip or postal codes, neighborhoods, things like that. But I'll just keep it simple, refine it to this. It shows me 13 matches for this. So I'm going to hit search here. So I've got my list, and if I want to save this, the menu here at the top right, and keep in mind, and I encourage those of you who have HDX, and once you get to the new version, check it out on a mobile device, because all of these options are even more visible because they're right at the top of the list. But if I want to save this list, save this search, I just click on the Save Search option here, and I'd have to register, make sure that I'm registered. If I'm already registered, then it's just going to save my search. So let's just kind of go through the motions here. Looks like I've already logged into this one. Okay, sorry. I'm going to try another email. I've already logged in with that one.
Okay, while we're waiting, Michelle is asking, is there a delay when a home hits the MLS and when it comes into the IDX search to the client? If so, how long is the delay?
Well, I think that it shouldn't be more than 24 hours, but it may.
I think it varies. I think it varies depending on your MLS and how often the data gets updated. Usually, it's a batch process. In some places, I believe it's hourly. In others, it's once a day. Some places, it's like 4 times a day. So
it's MLS dependent.
It's MLS dependent.
Okay, John is asking, does the site track how many times a lead logs in to look at properties and how many times they look at a specific property?
It does, yeah. It definitely tracks how many times they've logged in to look at properties. It tracks all the properties that they've looked at. And of course, if they inquire about a property and are looking for more information or want to set up a showing, it's going to track all of that as well. So basically every action.
When I go into the control panel, can I adjust the prospects as far as maybe I want to search the most recent prospects, or maybe I want to search prospects that have come back to the site numerous times? Does it allow me to do that?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, you can order the list by what price range they're looking at, by the number of hits they've had on properties, what area they're in. There's a whole bunch of sort criteria. You can just reorder the list in whichever is most useful to you.
Okay,
a lot
Alan,
of people like ordering it by price, like web activity or listing activity or median price.
Okay, Ellen's asking this, or I guess it's more of a statement. She says, Craig, I offered a buyer prospect an online meeting. We spoke for 2 hours. She has contacted my lender and been pre-qualified to purchase $650,000 and above. This far, I'm happy with the result of making that offer. Your comments. Well, Ellen, unless the buyer signed an exclusive buyer agency agreement, there's no guarantee that they're going to buy from you. So did that happen during the conversation? Were you able to email the buyer agency agreement, get them to sign it and send it back to you? Because my only concern with this is, as you say, you've spent 2 hours on the phone with this prospect. You've got all the information about what they're looking for, and you've got them pre-qualified. So they could still just go buy a house through another agent, and it's going to make it very, very difficult for you to get in front of this buyer now. Steve, if you were my buyer and I'd already spent 2 hours on the phone with you, but I didn't get you signed to a buyer agency agreement, how do I get you signed to a buyer agent agreement now? I can't really say to you, hey, Steve, we should get together so I can take down exactly what you're looking for. Because you would say, well, Craig, we've spent 2 hours on the phone. I can't say, let's get together for 15 minutes so I can take down what you're looking for. So that's my only concern, Ellen. If what you're doing over the phone works to get them signed to a buyer agency agreement over the phone, then no worries and congratulations. But if what you're doing over the phone actually eliminates any chance of you getting together with the buyer and getting them signed to a buyer agency agreement, then I would stay away from that approach.
Right. I know there's been some, remember, one of the things that you have to remember here is that your prospects don't know what the rules are or when they're going to be sent this stuff or what things happen. And I know that we have had some agents that have had some success saying that in order for me to continue sending you listings, I'm allowed to sign you up, I'm allowed to get you going, there's a 2-week trial period. But in order for me to continue sending you listings beyond the 2 weeks, I need to get together. We need to sign a buyer agency agreement. So
well, I think we just
whatever fits. Remember, your prospects don't know. That's not a rule, but in some cases it's a rule you may decide in your own business. If I can't get them in 2 weeks, fine, I'll let them go.
Okay. Well, how about the universal rule? The universal, common sense is this: is Steve, I want to do a good job for you. And rather than me emailing you a bunch of homes that don't interest you, or even worse, you missing out on something, if we can get together for about 15 or 20 minutes, I can customize these emails you're getting so you only get the homes that are a perfect match.
Right. Plus, I know exactly what you're looking for, and I can keep my ears open to the...
Right. No prospect could argue with that. I mean,
right.
Steve, you wouldn't be able to say to me, well, actually, I think Craig, you could do a better job without us meeting. That's crazy. We all know as realtors that, of course, we do a way better job of representing the buyer and honing in on what they're looking for if they'd actually come in and have a consultation. So why don't we just tell the truth? I want to do a good job for you. I don't want you to miss out on anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, a few more questions. Michael is asking, is there exclusivity for this service? In other words, will this service be offered to only one agent per zip code? I don't think that's the case.
Okay, right now it is not the case. It is limited. There aren't that many agents in each market that have it, and the reality is, if you're the only ones they're going to find are the ones you're advertising. So if you run the ad that they see for the Bellevue property hot list, it's the only one they're going to see. They're not going to see.
Mary's asking this. So Craig and Steve and Christy, if I can't get in touch with the prospect, so I've tried and tried, and I can't get in touch with them, how do I stop access? How do I stop their access to the HDX listings?
You can just discontinue the email, and that way they won't get email reminders anymore. What I would do, though, before you do that, is I would send them a quick message and just say, you know, I haven't heard from you. I've been trying to get in touch with you. I certainly don't want to cut you off, but if I don't hear from you in the next 24 hours, I'm going to have to discontinue your access. And
could it be set up that when that prospect logs in, what they would see is a screen that says, you know, you need to contact us first to get your access continued?
Yeah, I mean, that certainly would be a flag that you could set for that particular lead.
Right, I would email them.
24-hour
I have a link
notice.
to the site, and when they go onto the site again, it says, look, you need to contact me. Call me at this phone number so we can continue the service because we want to make sure that we're sending you the right information.
So we would just set a flag to do that.
All right, I think.
Okay, here's a question from Robert. Robert says, so how do you deal with buyers from out of town? About 60% of my buyers are coming from out of town and say they're not going to be in town until next winter. Well, look, you got to figure out how to do it over the phone. You got to figure out how to do your buyer presentation over the phone, email them the exclusive buyer agency agreement, and get it back. I mean, if these buyers were coming into town in a couple of weeks, I wouldn't change anything. I would just have the meeting set up at your office. You have to learn how to be good with this. A lot of our, members are in the resort communities. They have a lot of buyers coming from out of town. So if you don't become good at getting the buyers signed to buyer agency agreements over the telephone, if you don't get good at it, what happens is you spend an enormous amount of time on the phone and sending listings to buyers who aren't committed to you. So, they do eventually come into town, but there's no guarantee they're going to buy from you. Okay, Ernest is asking, should we discontinue it? They will likely just move on to another realtor. We want to contact buyer prospects, but every once in a while, that type of prospect out of the blue contacts me. Yeah, you don't have to discontinue them. Like, you don't have to eliminate their emails. You can keep them on there if you want. That's an individual decision that you're all going to have to make. But I would at least send the email out saying, we're going to cut off your access, but you could still give them access. They could still go to the site and you could give them access if you want to do. These are all choices that you folks have to make. What it really comes down to, Ernest, is what percentage of the time, if you continue to give them access and they won't respond to you, they won't call you, you're never going to speak to them again, what percentage of the time does what you just say happened? You said, every once in a while, out of the blue, a prospect that hasn't responded, hasn't called me, we haven't talked to them, out of the blue, every once in a while, they do. Okay, so Ernest just typed in a very small amount. So, look, I don't want to talk in absolutes and say you're never going to sell a house from it, but real estate is a numbers game. If only 1 in 100 prospects that you don't speak to ever out of the blue eventually contact you, well, then that means 99% of the time it doesn't work. So I would definitely test something else if it's just very, very low. Okay, Robert is asking, Craig, which CRM do you recommend? Success Website, Commissions Inc., Wise Agent. Having several is tough to manage. Okay, so I used one. called Agent Office. The contact management system that you use is, that's the key right there, is you got to use it. So find a contact management system that you're really comfortable with. Okay, and Steve, I know you guys have been building yours out. You got to find one that you're going to use. Success Website has a built-in contact management system. Some of you are using it. Some of you use something different. Some of you use Wise Agent. Some of you, I hope all of you are using a contact management of some kind. But it really comes down to a personal preference.
One of the things that we do have a lot of people that use ours and use something else. And one of the reasons that they're using ours is because if you're doing the HDX, now you've got all these guys and all their listing searches, and it's all automatically in there, right? You need it so you've got to have that. If you want to view which properties they're looking at, you're going to have to look at them in here. But what a lot of people do is when they get people that are, out of all the people that are here, all the ones that they say signed to a buyer's agency agreement, then they'll move those into Online Agent or Wise Agent, because now they've got whatever action plans they want to do with them, or whatever those people that are getting a higher level of service. But for all your web leads coming in, remember all the web leads you've got have all automatically gotten into this one, so there's no data entry, there's no moving guys around. And if you want to use something, we've tried to build this so all the features are in here to do your follow-up and set your next contact date and to answer your qualifying questions, to follow along with Craig's system. But if you do want to use something else, that's the trade-off. The trade-off is that the other ones aren't going to have their leads built right into them.
So, Christy, have you gone through this page we were just looking at?
I have.
Changed it.
Yeah, I know. I've been sort of switching things around here. What we were looking at before was the way you can sort your list based on activity numbers, and I was just showing how that's what you can do, and that's what I often recommend is when you do have a lot of leads in the system and you're trying to decide or cherry pick who you need to focus on trying to reach, definitely go for the ones who are the most active, the people who are coming back and using the system. But I also wanted to show how our system, works perfectly with yours, Craig, with having, the universal follow-up script is right here in the call section. All of the e-plans are geared towards, using the content within the site, encouraging people to come back, providing really valuable contact info. So this system is perfect for new lead follow-up. There's no reason why
we're not using the script. Right there.
Well, there's no.
Pop it up.
Exactly. It's right here. You can keep track of all the answers to the questions. You can make notes. How often is it that you have a great conversation and you go to call them back in a couple of weeks or a month and you just can't remember what you talked about or what situation they're in. So that's why I think it's really important to have a CRM that you are using consistently, because...
Well, look, if you can remember your conversations with your prospects, it just tells me you don't have enough prospects.
Right, right.
Can you go back to the prior page?
Yep.
Just hit the back button. Okay,
so,
so let's go through.
Activity,
let's go through each one of these categories: web activity, listing activity, median price, average price. Make sure everyone understands it.
Mm-hmm. So web activity is a number of actions within the website. So that could include an HDX search. It could include, viewing a report on the site. It could include, sending a message. So these are just actions that have been taken.
Right. So obviously the higher the number, the more engaged they are.
Exactly, and you can see the last visit date here. So you can see the dates that person came back and how long they've been using the system. And then listing activity is obviously the number of listings that prospect has viewed within the site. The median price is just the average price that they've been looking at. Same with the average. Maybe there's, Steve, you might be able to kind of illustrate what the real difference is here between the median and the average, but I think that this is sort of based on search.
Median's the middle, right? So if they've got half the properties they've looked at have been below that price, and half the properties looked at would be above that price, my guess is that they've probably looked at a couple of properties that are $25 million properties, and it's bumped the average number up.
Okay.
Median's probably a little more accurate in terms of generally it's half above that price and half below that price.
And that makes sense. That makes sense. And then, of course, the city and neighborhood. So, like, let's say, for instance, you're going into a listing presentation and you want to show your seller, how many leads you have within a certain neighborhood or area. I mean, this can be very powerful and just show evidence that you have people actively using your system looking for listings in their area within their price range.
Okay, so we could have this set up on last visit, right? Like these
Yes.
could be in order of last minute. Okay, so that's probably the way I would have it set up. Is I want to know, okay, who responded 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, yesterday, the day before. So there it is.
Yeah, so you can go in every day and you can say, okay, here's all the people that looked at my site yesterday.
Right.
Okay, you can go into each one of them if you want. You can look at specifically what they looked at yesterday. You can go in and look at exactly which houses they're looking at. And you can just show that, Christy.
Oh, sure. Okay, so yeah, they're obviously going in to look at the HDX. So if we go into listing activity, so
we can see the specific properties they looked at.
You can see the specific property, right? See if it loads up for me here.
All right, Alexandra is asking a question. I think we've covered this, but here it is. She says, so when the system sends follow-up emails to prospects, what criteria is used? Well, whatever criteria they've given us, and if they change it, then they'll get the new criteria. So
right. It's possible that they've saved multiple searches, in which case they'll get updates on each of those searches.
Yeah, I suppose that is possible. If they've saved multiple searches, then they will get updates on those searches, and
Boy,
probably
that's
get
a weird picture of that house. It's like the photographer laying down on the grass, 2 feet from the house.
Yeah, it's a bizarre angle.
There's more sky than house.
They must have been hiding in the bushes, taking pictures there.
It's strange.
And just to let everyone on the call know, sometimes when I'm on calls with agents, they freak out a little bit when they see this information here. This is only for you to see on the back end. Okay, we don't display the agent's name or the brokerage information. Well, I think the brokerage information probably has to be displayed in some cases, but this information is here so you know who the listing agent is. It's not publicly displayed. It's not sent out to your prospects either.
All right, Robert is asking this question. Let's say you get a new listing, and it's a condo, and we want a list of all the buyers that are looking at this condo in the last 6 months. Can this be possible?
I think that the answer is not entirely. I think there may be a way to get in and look and see who has looked through your site. So anybody that's come in through your site and looked, we could probably do a sort and figure out, okay, there's been 15 people that have looked at it. But remember, there might have been 200 people that have looked at it through all the other MOSs that are out there. So it's not going to give a very accurate sense of all the people that have looked at it. So it probably isn't that useful.
Okay, here's a question from Ernest. This is for Christy. It's non-HDX related. Christy, are you finding the Facebook ads that Success website is managing that feature the Google pin map to be successful? I'm running one with Jenny. I've given it some time, but it's completely bombed, unfortunately.
Okay. And is it using that pin map image? I usually do find those to be the most successful, just because they're just so relevant to what we're offering. So I would be interested to know what the image is that that it is using in the ad, and then
Ernest says
of course
yes.
what the offer is.
Yes, it's using the pin map.
It's using the
But
pin
maybe
map?
you could look into this after we're done here today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a
I'd have to
look
take a
at
closer look.
that campaign for Ernest.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pin map of my local area, he says. And he says,
Okay.
thank you. He would appreciate your follow-up on that.
Yep.
Okay, so so we're up to the top of the hour here, Christy. Maybe you can, if people want to get more information on HDX and how to get started, or if they've got questions, what's their best?
Sure. What I would suggest actually is to send me an email. I'll put my email into the chat section here so everyone has it. I'll also tell you all what it is. It's christy@successwebsite.com. And let me know, if you are interested in updating your site to the new layout, if you have HDX, or if you have any questions about HDX, about my leads, about how some of this stuff works. I'll be happy to answer those. So I'm going to send this out to the entire audience, and just send me a quick email, and I'll get right back to you.
Okay, and I know, Craig, you've got a couple upcoming super conferences coming up.
Yeah, we certainly do. I am heads down today, Steve, working on this. Do believe the Toronto Super Conference is really like 10 days today. So
Yeah.
there's this red light in my office. It starts to flash. 10 days out, 9 days out, 8 days out. So yeah, I'm heads down getting ready for that. So that's the Toronto Super Conference, I think it's August 21st to the 23rd. Yeah, 10 days. And then, like a month after that, we've got the Anaheim Conference in Anaheim, California. And both of these are big. I mean, we've got over 400 people in my room and in the Platinum room, probably around 300 in Toronto, and even more at the California event. So if you haven't already made your arrangements with Tina, our travel agent, I would recommend that you do that, because there's discounted rooms and not many of them left. So make your arrangements. Be forewarned that these are sold out. Toronto is sold out. Like, we actually are in a position where we have people that want to pay to attend, and we have to say no. So the room physically cannot. We can't squeeze any more people into that room.
Very good.
So I want to thank you guys for doing this today, as always. And
Okay, awesome.
don't be shy, everyone. If you've got any concerns or problems, things that you don't understand, give Christy an email, and she'll get back to you. Have someone at Success Website get back to you and help you out. Hopefully this made sense today, and you've got a better understanding of HDX and how to use it and how our members are using it. But Steve and Christy, thank you very much for taking the time, and we'll talk to you next month.
Awesome, great.
Sounds good.
Second Monday of each month.
Yes, and we'll see you at the Super Conference in 10 days.
Okay, looking forward to it.
Yes, we will.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
That concludes our helpline.